Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this morning's live stream from Facebook from Pinnacle People Solutions. Welcome back to those who have been our regulars since we started this process last Thursday. We will be continuing to deliver. We've had terrific questions and interest and so forth from a whole range of different individuals and organisations, and we understand that what we're doing is valuable to our communities, and so we will continue to do this moving forward. So I'm Bronwyn Pearson, for those who haven't tuned in before. My name's Bronwyn Pearson. I'm from Pinnacle People Solutions, and as I said, welcome to our daily Facebook Live update. So Pinnacle People Solutions provides human resource services and solutions to regionally based small to medium enterprises and not-for-profit organisations, and we are here to help you and your business through these challenging and rapidly developing times. I'll be live every weekday with updates on new information that has come through in the previous 24 hours, or on a Monday morning what's come through on the weekend, and as well as more detailed information about topics related to staffing and business management. And we're listening very intently to our audience at the moment in terms of the areas and topics that you are progressively wanting to hear about. So please keep that communication to us rolling, because we will be using that to determine what topics we're going to cover each day as we move forward. For those who aren't on Facebook and have been asking the question, where can we get access to the live stream? So we are running it through Facebook, but every live stream since we started these last Thursday has been recorded and is up on our Facebook page. It is also, as you'll see via a post that went up on Facebook, it is also available on our YouTube channel, and will also be going up to LinkedIn. So we're making sure that the information is available across a range of channels, but we can also send it to you if you send us an email or a message and ask for that. So please ask any questions you have as we go along. My lovely team are on standby to provide links and other information as we go through each broadcast. And I thank them sincerely. They've been a power of work and strength while we've been going through this and answering all of the questions and queries we have from clients and other members of the community who have businesses or who are employed by businesses. So I'll do my best to answer any questions as they come along this morning. But if there's any that I need to put on notice or I don't get to, I will answer them in the next broadcast. And outside of this, of course, you can contact me or any of our team members via Facebook, email or telephone. And I notice my lovely team have just put up those details in the comments page. So thank you very much for doing that. Okay, so before we get into today's topic, which is partially reducing your workforce and meeting your obligations when you need to move really quickly, I just want to cover off some breaking news, changes that have occurred overnight. So first and foremost, the most recent one, which was only announced about an hour ago, is the New South Wales government has announced thousands of small businesses battling with COVID shutdown across New South Wales will be eligible to receive grants of up to $10,000 under a new assistance scheme. We will have information that we will put up in the links to indicate where you can get further information about that. Obviously, the New South Wales government concessions have to this point in time been pretty much focused around, tax concessions and a whole range of other concessions, payroll tax, etc., which generally are not areas that of concern for small, particularly small businesses. So the government has obviously already provided those kind of concessions, but this latest funding announcement focuses on what they've referred to as small mum and dad businesses with a couple of employees who may have had to close or vastly reduce operating hours. So we will bring to you the eligibility criteria for that and how to go about getting access to that as soon as it comes to hand. The other things you need to be aware of is, and I'll give you a little bit more information on this in a moment, overnight the Prime Minister has announced that childcare will be free and moving forward, and I'll give you more details about that. It would appear, according to the Federal Health Minister, that the increase in coronavirus cases is slowing. The number of ICU beds is to be doubled. The New South Wales Police Minister or Head of Police has said that the new coronavirus restrictions that were brought in a couple of days ago in New South Wales will stay in place for 90 days. So we're looking to the 30th of June. There's been some further border restriction activities that have been introduced overnight. Queensland will now turn back non-residents and those without exemptions from midnight last night. So that's already happening. And WA will close its borders to non-residents and those without exemptions from midnight on Sunday. In Queensland, popular areas in national parks and other recreation and four-wheel drive areas will close from Friday. I know all of the states and the federal government are concerned about the upcoming Easter holidays and I know John Barilaro, Deputy Leader, was on the news in the last 24 hours, strongly encouraging city people not to travel to regional areas at this time. Of course, it would violate non-essential travel potentially. So, but with the holiday period coming up, the governments are particularly concerned about that. Tasmania is banning all race meets, sex work, garage sales and food trucks at markets. And WA's testing for COVID-19 will now include anyone with a fever and symptoms of acute respiratory infection will now be able to be tested. So just quickly in terms of childcare. So childcare will be free for all workers who need it from the 6th of April. Means testing will be suspended. That will no longer be in place for the time being. The Prime Minister has said that centres should prioritise the needs of kids whose parents are working and families with vulnerable children. And the federal government will also provide financial support to the 13,000 childcare centres around the country. If you have already removed your child from childcare centres, centres can waive the gap fee dating back to the 23rd of March. So there's more information available on the appropriate government websites around the childcare situation. So in terms of those of us who are in New South Wales particularly, just a very quick update. The confirmed coronavirus cases as of yesterday afternoon were 2,298. More than 108,000 people have been tested now. The acceleration of new cases is slowing, which I mentioned the Federal Minister for Health, Greg Hunt, had mentioned, but we are urged to remain vigilant with social distancing measures. There is still quite considerable concern about community transmission rates where the source is not known. That's the scariest statistic that they're concerned about at the moment. So everybody needs to stay home and not venture out unless it's absolutely essential or meets the criteria. There have been 10 deaths and there are 43 people being treated in intensive care, including 20 on ventilators. 500 businesses, since the government made a call, I think it was 48 hours ago, asking for New South Wales businesses to get in touch with them to help manufacture essential products. 500 businesses have so far registered. If you do have a business that you think even remotely might be able to be supportive in that area, get in touch with the New South Wales government and see what can be done. Planning laws have been relaxed to allow all commercial kitchens to prepare takeaway food. Something to be in mind. Building sites will now be allowed to operate 7 days a week to help with social distancing for tradies. And 3 $1,000 fines have been issued by New South Wales Police in the last 24 hours for breaching isolation orders. The National Cabinet will be meeting again this weekend, and we understand one of the items on that agenda will be to further discuss strategies for commercial tenancy relief. So we will let you know more about that when we know. The Fair Work Commission has also come out yesterday and said that they've indicated that they will vary 103 modern awards to include unpaid pandemic leave of 2 weeks and the flexibility to take annual leave at half pay. So they're considering a variation to 103 of the 122 modern awards. The changes could be introduced as early as next Wednesday and would operate until the 30th of June, next Wednesday being the 8th of April. Full benches of the Commission, of course, have recently made variations on an expedited basis to the Hospitality Industry Award, the Clerks Private Sector Award, which we've previewed, and the Restaurant Industry Award. So we will give you further information about any additional variations that happen. The variation applications that have been approved and also the Fair Work Commission's initiatives are supported by the Australian Council of Trade Unions, the ACTU, and the Minister, and other business professional association entities. Okay, so thank you, my team, for putting up all the appropriate links this morning. I do appreciate that very much. So today's spotlight topic is on partially reducing your workforce. So we have talked a bit about this earlier this week, but we've had a number of business cases in this week that we have helped with defining and working out what they're going to do and the actions that they potentially could take to look at partially reducing their workforce in response to demand, as well as in response to any external restrictions that government or others might be placing on them at the moment. When we talked about this, I would encourage you to see this live stream in the same or in conjunction with the one that we did earlier in the week on restructuring and reducing staff. And I'm sure my lovely team are going to tell you what date that one was. I can't tell you off the top of my head. But some of the things that I think it's incredibly important to be aware of is things like you can reduce the casual hours of your staff as business declines. You can ask your staff to consider other arrangements, including moving them to part-time if they're full-time, to casual, or another variation such as asking them to reduce their income. So we've got the business examples that we had this week that we've helped organisations with have got staff on significantly above award wages. And one of the questions was, can we ask our staff to take a pay cut? The answer to that is yes. They have to agree, of course, and any changes to their substantive terms and conditions still need to meet the minimum award requirements. Unless it relates to, well, in certain circumstances when it relates to JobKeeper, but I'll deal with that as a separate topic. But you've still got to meet the same terms and conditions if you employ staff and they're covered by the Fair Work Act and or a modern award on top of that. But you can, if you're paying above award wages or and there's any wriggle room there, or you are looking to need to reduce your staff hours, then you can talk to them legitimately about that. It's very important, however, if you're an employer, to be very careful about how you word that with your staff. I can't emphasize that strongly enough. Now, so employers can sometimes get themselves into strife without ever intending to, but it's really important that you consult with your staff about the kinds of things that measures that you might be looking to introduce. You would need to get their written agreement to change any of their terms and conditions. But it's very important that in having that conversation with them, you're not communicating it to the likes of, well, if you don't agree to X, Y, and Z, then I'm going to make you redundant, or I'm going to have to stand you down. Those might be options that as a business you need to consider. But if you link the two in that way, you could be perceived as taking adverse action against your staff and that they were being pressured or shoehorned into agreeing to something. They've got to be able to freely agree to any changes without any undue pressure from you as the employer. And sometimes employers can put their staff in that situation without realising that's what they're doing. So it's incredibly important for each individual business circumstance to get good advice. And so we would encourage you to get in touch with us if you're looking to do this for your particular business, because every business is different. And it's really important to tread quickly, we understand that, and carefully, but you also don't want to raise your risks in other areas of your business from inadvertently not doing the right thing. Essentially, the first thing we would advise businesses to do if they're looking at partial reductions in workforce, you might even need to do that in a very staged way. And we can certainly assist you with what that might look like, and we can assist you to do it very, very quickly. So we had a client who earlier this week literally was trading with 7 staff one day and had to reduce their workforce to 2 the following day. They had to stand down 5 of their staff. And so it is important that you move quickly when you need to, but also lawfully. So we can help you with your journey in terms of this process. First of all, it is important to meet with your accountant, be absolutely clear about your cash flow situation. One of the frequent questions we're getting at the moment with the announcement of JobKeeper, and of course we did a deep dive on that this week also, is that payments won't start flowing to businesses that are eligible until the 1st of May. There's a lot of businesses who are going to be lucky to hang on between now and the 1st of May in order to be able to take advantage potentially of that allowance or that subsidy. So talk to us about what you might be able to do in the meantime. But before that, it's really important to be very, very clear about what your cash flow situations are. Talk to us about to determine what your options are. So there could be multiple options that perhaps you can't necessarily know at the moment, and you need some good advice on what your options might be. Once you've got some idea in your mind as to what that looks like relative to demand as it's presenting itself or dropping off, then it's important to meet with and consult with your staff to let them know the circumstances and ask for their suggestions, or to come and speak with you confidentially about what they'd be prepared to do. We've been involved in those conversations with businesses and their staff numerous times this week, and we're very happy to participate in those conversations to make sure that staff are getting all the information that you need for them to get as employers. And also that you as an employer are stepping correctly forward in the right ways and not unintentionally exposing yourself to potential future claims of unfair dismissal or adverse action. So if you do have any of your staff covered by a modern award, meeting and talking with them in this way, asking for their suggestions, will also satisfy your consultation obligations under Clause 8 of modern awards, which stipulates exactly what kind of consultation needs to happen between employers and employees in the event that you have to make or consider making any major changes to your business, all of which kind of would fall under that category at the moment with the kinds of changes that businesses are looking to do. I think one of the things I need to make really clear about this obligation to consult with any staff that are covered by a modern award is that consultation with staff does not mean that you have to agree to the suggestions that they put forward. It is incredibly important to meaningfully consult and to be seen to consult, but it is not necessary for you. There's not an obligation on you as an employer to agree to any of the suggestions that have necessarily been put forward. So you need to consider, you don't necessarily need to agree. But once you've had that feedback from your staff and set a time frame for when you need that in, and that could be 24 hours or less, you need to meet with them again and let them know the outcome, what you've decided to do. You might need to do that a few times if you're going to do a staged reduction over time. It might be that you approach staff about reducing income, particularly if you're paying above award wages, to do a variation to their employment contract or put in place an agreement for a fixed period to reduce to reduce hours or income in response to business demand. We can help you with all of those things, of course, to make sure that they're all in place and lawful. And if you have to decide between staff in terms of reductions, make sure it's fair and transparent. But as I said, we had a business on Tuesday that literally was trading with full staff, 7 staff on Monday, and on Tuesday afternoon had to put 5 of those staff into stand down. They had to make the decision about what 2 staff to retain, and they did so based on the multi-skilled nature of those 2 staff and the fact that they would be able to work across the broadest range of service delivery in the business compared to the other staff. So you do have a right as a business to decide who you stand down or who you retain, or where your priorities are in that regard. But you need to do that lawfully. So please talk to us about that. And then, of course, once you've decided what your first step is, then it's a case of implementing those changes, whether it's to, you've got the agreement, and then it's to rosters, shifts, hours, stand downs, redundancy. Everything you do must be in writing to ensure that you meet your obligations, and we can absolutely help you to make sure that that's the case. One of the questions that I've had is, as I said, I had can I ask staff to take a pay cut? The answer to that is yes. If you're going to keep staff on and they're being paid above award wages, you can ask them to agree to a pay reduction. They can say no to that, and you may have to go back to the drawing board and look at other alternatives if you can't get agreement from staff to make certain changes. One of the other questions I've had is, can I initially change hours, etc., for a staff member with their agreement and then stand the staff down or make them redundant? The answer to that is absolutely yes. If it meets the stand down provisions, or you need to you don't have the work and it meets a genuine redundancy, then absolutely you can do that. In fact, that might be part of your staged plan. Maybe your initial plan is to get agreement, if you can, from staff to reduce wages, reduce hours, etc., so you can keep everybody on. But the second stage might be, if business continues to deteriorate, that you may have to stand down or make staff redundant. All of these continue to be options as you go through the process of determining what your business needs to do at any particular point in time. How do I decide who to stand down and when? Well, I referenced the fact that we had a business on Tuesday who had to make a very quick determination as to what staff would be stood down. They stood down 5, they retained 2, and they made that decision based on the skill sets of all of their staff and their capacity of the 2 staff they chose to remain working in the business at this point in time, to be able to work across all facets of the business. So that is a perfectly reasonable way of making that determination. There will be a myriad of others. So just talk to us about how to make sure that that's fair and reasonable. But yes, you can decide who to stand down and when. Can I make staff redundant after I've stood them down? Yes, you can. If it becomes clear that at some point in the future, whether it's 2 days away, a week away, or longer, and you've got staff on stand down and you're not going to be in a position to be able to bring them back, all of them potentially, then you may need to look at redundancies, and we can certainly help you with that process as well. One of the other questions I've had is, if I employ anybody else after these measures have come in, so let's say these are not people that were on your payroll as at the 1st of March, which is one of the key dates for the JobKeeper allowance eligibility. Let's say you've recruited somebody this week. We are still waiting to see what the answer to this question is, but we don't believe that if they weren't on your payroll on the 1st of March, that you would necessarily be eligible for them to have JobKeeper. But again, that's an open question. We're still waiting to get some feedback about. Doesn't mean that any staff that you put on that you may not ultimately need to stand down, but talk to us before you add recruitment to your team, so we can give you some clarification in respect of that. We've got 5 minutes to go, and all of the pre-questions that we've had and questions from yesterday I've now answered. So if you have any questions, please put them in the comments field there. I can see it and I can answer them as time goes on in the next 5 minutes. Monday, we will be doing a deep dive into workers' compensation and COVID-19. We've had a number of queries about that. I answered some of those questions in yesterday's live stream, but we will be doing a special topic on Monday on workers' compensation and COVID-19. And we've got other topics ready to roll for next week, but they can be sort of substituted, varied, etc., depending on what's developing in terms of government policy, in terms of initiative announcements and all of those sorts of things. We will be doing our next broadcast on Monday as our next weekday. However, we do reserve the possibility of actually doing weekend emergency broadcasts if there's any particular major changes that come in that we think businesses need to be aware of. We'll then do an overview again on Monday morning's broadcast. So any questions, please don't hesitate to send them through to us. I want to say again, I realise what a difficult time this is. Can I speak to all the business owners and employees who are watching this either now or afterwards, watching the recording? I too am a small business owner, and I have a great deal of empathy and care and concern for those of you who also have small to medium enterprises and are faced with the questions of whether or not you're going to be able to keep your team on. Some have already had to answer that question, and we're helping businesses every day to navigate those questions and determine what they should be doing and make sure to do it quickly but lawfully. It is a really hard time, and particularly for those regionally based businesses and employees, it's really hard. You know these people. You know their families often. You're going to continue to, albeit at the moment in very restricted and only essential services connections coming across them. These are people who you live with as well as work with in a lot of respects. And I just want to acknowledge how difficult this is particularly for regionally based business. I don't discount how important it is and significant and difficult for metro-based businesses either, and the information I'm giving you relates to all businesses, not just regionally based. But I am acutely aware as a regionally based business owner myself just how much anguish and difficulty this is posing for business owners at this time. And one of the main reasons we've started this initiative is to try and help you navigate it, cut through all of the swathes of information and so forth that you're getting every day, and help you to do what's right for your business and for your staff. So please reach out to us by any of the means that you have at your disposal. This live stream will be going up on, as I said, on our YouTube channel and also to LinkedIn. It will be saved and available up in Facebook for you to come back and have a look at. We will be answering any questions. You can email and call us. We are available 24/7 at the moment. We may not necessarily answer emails overnight, but we certainly are available on the phone to anybody who needs urgent assistance in that regard. Thank you very much for joining us today. If you have any specific questions, as I said, or you need us and want us to help you out, contact us anytime on the contact details our staff has provided in the comments. Monday, we will be focusing on workers' comp and COVID-19. It's incredibly important that you have a good understanding of what that looks like at the moment for your business. And so please invite your colleagues and friends to join us. Please like and share this information. We really want to make sure it gets out as widely as possible to support our business and employee colleagues. Stay safe, everyone. Please stay at home unless you have absolute cause to travel. If you're fortunate enough to have people in your house that are your family or people that you are close to, and you have the opportunity to hug them, please do that. There are a whole lot of people at the moment who are living in true isolation who don't have that opportunity. So please take the advantage of doing that. Stay safe. Wash your hands repeatedly, please. And I'll see you on Monday. Take care.